Which food would you feed your baby? Welcome back to At the Table. Sydney here, and I'm joined once again by April Fogelman, who is one of our specialists at NC State University, specializing in nutrition and breastfeeding and all the things really related to mom and baby, primarily through under 12 months of age, right? Primarily. So today we're going to kind of switch gears, thinking about our a little bit older infant at this point who is going to start eating foods and navigating the food world of feeding your baby actual foods, because that's
actual food
a lot, right?
Like actual solid food.
it can be a lot to navigate as a mom who just went through it all. So hopefully she's going to answer some questions you might have, and we'll dive into just all about feeding, different things to feed your baby, allergens that are important, how to introduce those. Today we are making 2 recipes, and both of these are super kid friendly for the older babies and the toddler aged, and our infants who are 6 months and up. So we have a simple beef patty recipe, and then we're also going to be making some banana pancakes that are from our Med Instead of Meds site. So we will each go ahead and start at our station. What I've got first is we just have 1 pound of beef. These are the simple beef patties. This actually came from the Baby Led Weaning app. They have a ton of, they have some free recipes on their app as well. So I just found this one on there, and my son has loved these, so that's why I thought we'd try them today. We are going to add broccoli to these, so I was trying to pick a vegetable that he could eat that would be good to him. So I'm going to chop this up finely, and then we also have half of an onion that we're going to chop up. So I'm going to start with that. I'll start with our broccoli first. What do you have that you're going to be working on, April? What recipe do I have for you?
So over here we have some banana oatmeal pancakes, and you can sing the Jack Johnson song, Banana Pancakes, if you want. And these are great because they have oats and bananas and eggs, all which provide some fiber and iron and potassium and all kinds of good stuff.
So in kind of talking about that, April, as far as all the nutrients that we have in there, what is a really good thing to focus on if we're trying to pick a food to start with for those kiddos? What are some nutrients that are important for our younger kids?
Really, the most important thing to focus on with feeding our young children, or our babies who are 6 months and up, is iron. So iron is really the main concern with babies, because breast milk, while it's low in iron, it is very bioavailable, meaning we can absorb it very easily through breast milk, but it is lower in iron, and babies' iron stores are very dependent upon their mother's iron stores during pregnancy. It also depends on how long they or what their gestational age is at birth. So premature babies tend to have harder time keeping up iron. And also delayed cord clamping has a role in iron as well, but around 6 months is really when we see iron stores begin to get used up, and we really want to focus on iron. So having these eggs, the yolk in the eggs is a great source of iron. And then also with the beef patties that Sydney's making is a great way to get iron in their bellies.
So the meat, the red meat has iron in it. And then we're actually going to be using a cast iron pan to make these. So you can kind of fortify your foods with a cast iron pan, cooking things in a cast iron pan, because that cast iron pan gives that food extra iron. So that is really great. Now, in terms of a breastfed baby versus a formula-fed baby, do formula-fed babies have to be as concerned about iron?
So the formula-fed babies, the formula should be fortified with iron, as it is fortified with all of the nutrients to help mimic breast milk. However, the iron in formula isn't always absorbed as easily as the iron in breastfed babies. So, so yes, I think that iron is a concern for all babies, whether they're breastfed or formula fed.
Okay. I feel like that can be a myth that some of us think, like, you don't really need as much iron because, isn't it? It can be in formula, but it's still very important. So.
Yeah, it's important whether you're breastfed or formula fed.
Awesome. All right, so we will take a quick break. I'm gonna finish chopping up our onion, and then we will get right back to make these iron-fueled beef patties in just a second.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
Hey guys, welcome back. So I've got our onion done. I'm also just chopping up a little bit of garlic here. So this is just one of smaller clove. It's on the smaller side. If you aren't doing fresh garlic, you could definitely do garlic powder and just do about half a teaspoon. It's really great to introduce babies to different flavors as well once they're eating solid foods, giving them different spices and helping to flavor foods so they can start to kind of get used to the different seasonings that might be out there. We do want to limit salt, right, and sugar, which I'll let April expand on that a little bit. But garlic, any Italian seasoning, oregano, any of those spices are still really great. So I'm just gonna throw all of this into my bowl here, and then we're just gonna stir it up, and I'll start to form some patties. So while I am stirring this up and getting it all blended, I'm gonna pass it over to April, who's gonna kind of walk you through how to make these pancakes.
So we have some banana pancakes here, and we have 2 bananas mashed up together and 2 eggs, and then we have a half a cup of oats and some baking powder, a half a teaspoon, and then some cinnamon. I just went ahead and measured it out and put these here. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I will just mix together the eggs and the banana. And then I will add the baking powder and cinnamon, mix it up. I mean, there's really no wrong way to do this. And then some vanilla extract, and then some oats. And then voila, you have some banana pancakes. Or they're not really pancakes yet, it's just dough, batter.
Be there soon.
Yep.
So while you're doing that, April, will you tell us a little bit about, when should we even start? I know there's some different information out there on when to begin feeding your baby solids. So when is really a great time to start feeding solids?
So all babies are different in regard to when they're ready for solids. We call it complementary feeding because it's complementary to either breast milk or formula. So around 6 months, their iron needs increase beyond what is in breast milk or formula. And that's really why 6 months is when we say that we need to introduce complementary feeding. That time is also when developmentally they are beginning to be ready for solids. So a lot of times you'll hear that babies around 4 months of age, you know, the pediatrician will say, okay, you can go ahead and start feeding some rice cereal or whatever it might be, some purees. But the truth is that you really want to wait until that baby is ready. Some signs that the baby is ready is that they are able to sit up unassisted. That means setting the baby on the floor and they're sitting up on their own. And not sitting up being propped, but being able to be strong enough to sit up on their own. This is a safety issue because you don't want to be feeding them food if they you know, are having to be leaned back, if they don't have the strength to really eat safely. The other thing is that they need to, they'll start to lose their tongue thrust reflex. That's when you see the babies kind of stick their tongue out of their mouth. So if you give them some food, you might see them actually push it out of their mouth if they're not ready. And that's a protective mechanism so that they don't get something that they shouldn't have and then choke on it. And when they show interest in food, and they're probably going to show interest in food before 6 months, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are physically ready for that. So if you are having to lay your baby back and feed them that way, then they are not ready for solid food. So those are some things to look for in terms of starting solids.
Great, awesome. So if your baby is kind of ready at that point and you have the okay from the doctor, but we want to make sure that they're doing all those things prior to.
Yeah, some babies are going to be ready before 6 months, but it's really going to be very close to 6 months. So if it's like, if your baby's 5.5 months and has met these milestones, it's fine. Like, your baby should be fine. But a lot of times, even around 6 months, they may not be ready. So really at 6 months, you're starting with just a tiny bit of food, getting them ready, learning how to eat food that's not liquid, and eventually they will progress as they get a little bit older and stronger.
Awesome. Love it. Well, I'll show you guys real quick. I've got my patties that I've started to form. You can kind of see the size. This should make about 8. I might end up making 8. Maybe it might be a little bit more than 8. We'll see. But around this size, this is good. They're going to shrink down a little bit, so keep that in mind. I'm trying to flatten them out a little bit as well. So I'll finish patting these up, and then we will see you guys in just a second to get these on the pan.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
Hey guys, welcome back. So I have our patties all formed. You can see a little bit of that broccoli in there and the onions. And my pan is nice and hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and start layering these into our cast iron. We of course don't want to overcrowd, so have plenty of room for those to cook, and they're gonna cook down a little bit. And then we're gonna cook them for about 4 to 5 minutes per side. Really, for any of our ground meats, we want it to reach at least 155 degrees. So that's the temp that we are looking for to know that it is cooked to a safe temperature. So I'm gonna get these loaded into our pan. April, if you wanna start loading up our banana pancakes into our pan as well, and you guys can kind of see what that's gonna be looking like. Now, we've touched on kind of when to start feeding our babies solid foods or complementary foods, as you called them. But when is a good time, or what is a good food to kind of start with? I think some of that can be very confusing as well when thinking about, should I feed my baby purees first, or what is your guidance on that?
So that is a hard question, and I think that it really just depends on your baby and your lifestyle. and also what your baby's healthcare providers are recommending, because the, you know, it's easy to go out and buy pureed food at the grocery store in a little jar. You could also make it at home, homemade. You can puree some using a blender, and you can store it in little ice cube trays and then pop them out whenever. So you can make fresh baby food that way. But you could also use baby-led weaning, where you kind of go by your baby's cues and feed them what they're ready to eat. You would just start with little bits at a time. And so, like, if you're doing baby-led weaning, then you would, you know, for example, just like give them something that developmentally is easy for them to eat at that stage that they're in. So maybe starting with something like some avocado or some banana, something that they can hold and kind of explore on their own, but also really focusing on foods that have iron. So something like meatloaf, being really soft, cooked thoroughly, so you know, at the safe temperature, but then also very soft and easy for them to maneuver in their mouth and swallow. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can start off feeding your baby. Some people would recommend, like speech language pathologists sometimes recommend really starting off with purees. But some babies don't really accept purees, and baby-led weaning is fine too. So there's a lot of room for just kind of listening to your intuition, your baby, and what they're ready for.
And I love that you talked too about like avocado or bananas or foods that are kind of naturally soft. So even if you're looking for something more of a consistency, kind of a puree, something that you can maybe have at home without having to purchase those pre-made purees. Like, let's say you eat bananas all the time and those are readily available in your home, something your family enjoys. You could absolutely go with one of those and just mash that up and feed it to them. It will be nice and soft, similar to a puree anyways.
Right, and the baby could actually hold it themselves and kind of work through that on their own as well.
Yeah, awesome. So we have both of our foods into our pans. They are cooking away. This is going to take a few minutes, so we will go ahead and take a quick break, and then we will see you guys right back when these are getting closer to done.
You don't have to move to have the home of the future. Star Communications is now offering all-in-one security and home control systems from Honeywell. Control lights, thermostat, locks, and your alarm all from one touchscreen or a tablet or smartphone. With Total Connect, you control your security system, home automation functions, and view live security video on your phone from anywhere. Sign up before August 31st and receive free basic installation, a savings of over $100. This is a limited time offer, so call now.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our stuff cooking on our stovetop here. Looks delicious, right? Little variety of food. This would be a strange breakfast, but you can have it anytime, you know? So we have our beef patties. They are cooking up. They look really good. They still need about 2 minutes. I think our pancakes look about done.
Yeah, I think I had the pan too hot, but that's okay.
No, I think they look good. So we can probably go ahead and take those off once they're ready. And we did go ahead and heat up some blueberries as well. So you can use any fruit to top this on top of your pancakes. Just keep in mind, if you're doing something like blueberries and you're feeding that to your baby, a better option would be to mash those. I always put one in my finger and just mash it with my fingers. Or you can do it with the spoon as well. That will work great. But that way it just kind of helps to flatten it so it's not round, which could be a little bit more of a choking hazard. And you can do absolutely any fruit here. So I do feel like frozen fruit or fruit that's heated up in general is a little better. It kind of makes a syrup itself. But those are really good, one of my favorites. How I would typically serve that to my son when he's between 6 and 9 months, I was cutting it into kind of strips that he could hold and eat it. Now that he's older, he I just cut it up into little bite-sized pieces that he can feed himself because he can pick that stuff up now. So to kind of go into that, so what about our allergen foods? Like, when is a good time to start those? And I know that can be really scary for a first-time parent in general, but what's your recommendation on that?
So for introducing allergen food, or foods that are potential allergens, well, really any food could be a potential allergen, but like the top 8, you know, like shellfish, peanuts, milk, things like that. The recommendation now through the 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines is just to not delay them. So just when you would introduce other foods, you can introduce those as well. The thing to kind of keep in mind though is when you're introducing foods at first, maybe start with one food at a time. That way if there is a reaction, you know which food caused the reaction. So if you're introducing peanuts or like peanut butter, for example, yeah, you shouldn't give a baby peanuts, but if you're introducing peanut butter, for example, you could just try that for 1 day or 2 days and see how they do. And then like yogurt, see how they do, go like that.
And that kind of ties into these pancakes because we did add eggs to these, and eggs are part of the allergens as well. So if you're doing eggs, you just want to be mindful. This, I think it would be okay in this recipe, well, except for the oats are also one of the allergens. So you would want to serve those things separately first before actually serving them together in what we call like a combination food.
Right, but likely at this point, if they were eating pancakes, they probably would have already tried scrambled eggs or already tried oatmeal, and so then you're kind of just putting them together
in a different way. Now, what about in terms of complementary feeding with feeding milk, breast milk or formula?
Yeah, so that's a great question, an important topic. So for the first year of life, babies should be fed either breast milk or formula first and then offered complementary foods. And then around 12 months, you can switch to offering complementary foods first and then offering breast milk or formula. So breast milk and formula, or breast milk or formula, is still going to be an important part of their diet for, you know, throughout the second year of life, so the first year and the second year of life. Now, formula-fed babies, you'll hear a lot of times the pediatrician will say, okay, at 1 year you could switch your baby to cow's milk, so not having to continue giving formula. I know it can be expensive, but still throughout like the first and second year of life, milk is still a significant part of the diet, but the complementary foods will help boost the nutrition that they're getting. So first year of life, start with milk first, breast milk or formula, and then feed complementary foods.
Another one that just came to mind too is vitamin D, and needing to add vitamin D into the diet. That's primarily 12 months and under, right? And then once they hit that 12 months and they start drinking cow's milk, is that when it's less important to add in vitamin D?
So vitamin D, I mean, it's really important for everybody regardless of age, because it's just something that we don't get enough of in our diet. But for babies, yeah, I mean, whether they're breastfed or formula fed, they should be supplemented with vitamin D, especially on days when it's not sunny or they're not outside, or, but really the supplementation of vitamin D should most likely continue.
Oh, after.
Yeah, and unless they're getting significant amount of sunlight, which isn't always the case. Yeah.
Which probably we all need a vitamin D supplement if we're not being outdoors and getting that. So both of our recipes are done. I mean, I hope that you learned a lot from April. I sure have, and she is just such a great wealth of knowledge. So we will have her email listed in the credits. So if you ever need to contact her with questions regarding feeding your little one, breastfeeding, formula feeding, solid food feeding, all the things, you can reach out to her. But I hope that you enjoyed having her during National Breastfeeding Month.
Thank you for having me, and yes, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.